awfully big tree.
I'll look at it next time, but I didn't see anything. How many years have you used that piece of string? I need one for the orchestra. I could make one. I need one for the L7. Like I say, you produced that.
Herb loves guitars. Guitars are a mass product. They've been mass produced since the 30s. People have been building them, the Gibson Company and the Martin factory. They're factories. But Herb takes those instruments that are used and discarded and people don't know what to do with them anymore. He takes them into his little shop downstairs and just preserves them because he loves them, not because he wants to make money with it or anything like that. Herb is one of those people that realizes that a heritage is something that you need to nurture. He sees the instrument as a part of the American heritage.
If you are the sort that would relish a snort, here's some advice that is true. Head for them hills, them old Wilk County hills, where they still make that good old Mountain Dew. They call it that good old Mountain Dew, and them that refuse it are few, mighty few. I'll hush up my mug if you fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew. I'll pick one. They call it that good old Mountain Dew, and them that refuse it are few. I'll hush up my mug if you fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew.
Herb is from Wilkesboro, North Carolina, and Herb came from a strong tradition of workers. They strove to always better themselves and their lifestyle, and the music is just as natural as breathing to most people that are from this area.
My daddy grew up over in Laurel Springs. He came to Wilkes and married my mother. She was from here in Wilkes County, and I've lived here all my life. I still like to go over there. I remember I used to get to spend a little time when I was a boy with my grandmother over there. It's in Allegheny County, and she didn't have electricity. But I used to fish in the little stream down there below her house and catch trout. And I was just a boy, and I'd catch 3 or 4 trout and take them up there, and she'd stop and cook them right then. Boy, they were really good. This is my mom's guitar. Mother played guitar a little bit. And she gave it to me when I was just a boy, and the house had leaked on it, and the action was so high. It took a lot of effort to mash those strings down. And I was always trying to make my fingers stronger and more durable and more calloused. And when I go in the kitchen in there, we had a wood cook stove, and I would just go up to the stove with a fire in there and just stick my fingers on the stove and hold them till it burnt and then pull them back off, and that made them tougher. And I was able to mash these strings down better. So that's the first guitar I ever owned and first guitar I ever played. It's a gondolier. When I was young, we didn't have a car, but my aunt had a car, and I had a cousin, her son, and they'd bring us down to the Liberty Theater on Saturdays to watch the movies. It cost 25 cents to get in. No, it cost 12 cents to get in. If you had 25 cents, you could get in, buy a Coke, a box of popcorn, and 2 packages of Kits. That's a little candy that came in little packages. They were a penny a piece. So you'd have a lot of stuff to eat and you get to see the movie too. But as I say, we didn't have a car, so I didn't get to come to town very much.
How far out of town did you live?
4 miles out of town. And, you know, we thought people that lived here in town were sort of city slickers, but 4 miles is not much. But it's enough to where we grew our own food and had our own garden, had pigs and cows and chickens, and none of the people that lived here in town, we didn't know how in the world they could live. They didn't have anywhere to have all that stuff.
He's really concerned with all levels of kind of old-timey stuff. I mean, you can look up old-timey in the dictionary and basically probably see a picture of Herb Key. He's interested in everything from old farming techniques, woodworking techniques, identifying trees, identifying wood by the grain. He thinks all those things are important. And also the stories behind the music that we play.
Herb Key, when it comes to the area's history, is forgotten more than most people ever know. And that's one of the things we really enjoy about him. For example, a lot of the songs he plays and with the Oakville String Band, there's things that have been around forever, amen, you know, and that makes them so much more special to me. And not just a knowledge of history, but a respect of it and an attempt to kind of pass it on. And Herb brings people in here like it's a tourist attraction himself because he appreciates the fact that there's a lot of history here.
Every time I come in here, I see something new. Of course, it could have been here before, but there's so much, you just can't absorb it all. Oh my goodness. There's the original recording of Otto Wood written by the Carolina Buddies. Actually, it's written in 1931 after he was killed in 1930. I'll be darned.
Herb's inspired me particularly in music history. I mean, going back to the, you know, when I was with the Oakville String Band, I played banjo, so I'd go try to find old copies of Clarence Ashley or Doc Boggs and stuff like that. People he told me about, Charlie Poole, to see what their styles were like and try to learn from that. And I'd go back with Herb and say, is this how Charlie did it? Is this kind of like what Doc did? Or is this how Clarence might have played this particular song? And he would guide me through that.
Otto, why didn't you run when the sheriff pulled out that 44 gun? Otto, why didn't you run when the sheriff pulled out that 44 gun? Bang! Shot him right there. Shot him right there. In Salisbury.
Dead as a hammer.
Dead as a hammer.
Herb, he's always into doing any kind of craft work, whether it was doing farm work or things around the house. Back from the first thing I ever saw he done was that banjo rim. Was absolutely a beautiful job of work, and that was my first impression of her being a great craftsman. And he just always does. He won't settle for nothing less than the best he can do.
My daddy was a woodworker and was in World War II. His name was Woodrow W. Key. My first job was working with him building houses. I was making $1 an hour doing carpentry work. And I went to the furniture factory and they only paid 75 cents an hour. So I
I thought I should have $1, but they said, no, that's it. I was in the furniture business over 20 years. The woodworking aspect that my dad taught me sort of stuck with me. I enjoy working with wood. It's relaxing, and you get a feeling of accomplishment when you make something that can be used. I mean, it's just a good feeling.
I had an old D18 guitar that somebody had set too close to the stove and burnt the side out of it. It was a nice old 1948 D18, and Herb was around. I said about how about helping me do some of this stuff, and because I had, I've always been backed up with orders for instruments, and he got to doing it, and then he said, well, he could come up one day a week, and he was sort of more retired from American Drew Furniture Factory, and he's got now, so he does really great repair work. He's as far as working on the inside of guitars, and Herb's done that so much he's gotten to be pretty much the best in the business at repairing old Gibsons, which the braces always come loose in them, and we call him the Gibson expert.
And in here's where I usually do the putting together of things. This is one that I'm working on. It's a 1946 Martin D18.
Oh, there's lots of people that come by, and he gets a lot of telephone calls, asking him different things and wanting to bring a guitar for him to repair or look at.
His repair work is, there's no match for it. He's the greatest repair guy that I was ever around. And when you take somebody like Wayne Henderson, that's a world famous guitar builder, that has Herb repair his instruments, I think that says everything.
There's a lot of people around here that rely on Herb to fix their instruments. They call Herb before they call anybody else and tell them what's wrong and say, can you fix it,
Herb earns his instruments by repairing them, bringing them back from death, from certain death. He takes a pile of junk and puts hours and hours and weeks and sometimes years into an instrument and brings them back to life. And then they are Herb Keyes instruments. And no money in the world can buy that. See? Only that Appalachian soul can do that. The insistence of not giving up on something that is beautiful, inherently beautiful. He does the same thing with the music. He doesn't learn a song because it's going to make him look good. No, he doesn't want the song to die because he sees a song as a part of our heritage, of who we are as maybe Americans, maybe as, I think even deeper, as human beings, actually.
Our preacher went out a-hunting, was on one Sunday morning. Was against his religion, but he carried his gun along. He shot himself 3 mighty fine quail, 1 little mealy hare. And on his way, returning home, he saw a great big grizzly bear. Now the bear marched out in the middle of the road, right up to the preacher, you see. The preacher got so excited that he climbed up a cinnamon tree. The bear sat down upon the ground, and the preacher climbed out on the limb. Then he cast his eye to the Lord his God, his word he said to him. Oh, Lord, didn't you deliver Daniel from a lion's den? Also deliver Jonah from the belly of the whale, and then 3 Hebrew children from the fiery furnace, so the good book do declare. Oh, Lord, if you can't help me, for goodness sakes, don't help that bear. Pick it, Jim.
I remember how proud I was when I learned to make that A chord. And I've got this picture of me making that A chord when I was about 16. And I've got a picture of Doc Watson making the same chord, and he's got the same smile of accomplishment that I had. The second biggest influence after Mother Maybelle Carter was Doc Watson. See, I heard Doc in the 60s, and that's when I really tried to tried to learn some of the stuff that he was doing with a straight pick. You know, Mother Maybelle was playing with a thumb and a finger and doing what they call the Carter scratch. And that's the way I learned to play, you know, with my finger and thumb like she did. She kept that finger going like that all the time. And then when I heard Doc play, he was playing with a straight pick. And about the same time I heard Red Smiley, and they would do these runs like, and that just set me on fire. I wanted to learn to do all that.
Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. You killed poor Laurie Foster and you know you're bound to die. You took her on the mountain for to make her your wife. Took her on the mountain and there you took her life. Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. You killed poor Laurie Foster and you know you're bound to die. You left her by the roadside where you begged to be excused. Left her by the roadside, hid her clothes and shoes. Hang your head, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. You killed poor Laurie Foster and you know you're bound to die.
I was a member of the Future Farmers of America in high school, and we had a band, the FFA band, and we played on WKBC radio live on Saturdays. And they had these little boxes on the wall with each band's name on these little, like a mailbox, and they put your mail in there, and then you'd read it out on the air, you know. And I kept getting this letter, have Herbie, they call me Herbie, have Herbie sing one, Brown Eyes. It would be signed by Brown Eyes, and I'd get one about every week or two, request to sing a song. And I thought I was really doing something good. Turns out Brown Eyes was my mother. she was doing that. Well, WKBC, they still have live music shows done at Main Street Music and Loan Company nearby in North Wilkesboro. And it's called the Hometown Opera.
We're live here at Main Street Music and Loan, and we are ready to go, my friends. 7:19 on a Friday morning. Look for a sunny day with a high near 80. Let's go back to the Hometown Opry stage for at least 2 in a row with Wayne Henderson and friends.
From the time that I first started playing, I remember seeing Herb around, and he always was encouraging of my music. And I was a fan of the Elkville String Band before I ever got to join it. They were one of my favorite bands to hear, just Herb Key and Drake Walsh and Bill Williams all together. They really were kind of legends in my book. And to be able to play with them now is a real pleasure.
Well, that's mighty fine. Thank you, folks. We're going to get the legendary Drake to do a fiddle tune for us now, one that we learned some time back. We always like to do it, called the Tennessee Gray Eagle.
Well, Drake Walsh was a great local musician, and you know, he's passed on now, and we really, like most things, you don't really appreciate it as much as you should until he's gone. Drake was the son of Doc Walsh. Doc Walsh was a famous musician. He was deemed champion North Carolina banjo player, and he was a good banjo player. The primary band that he played in was the Carolina Tar Heels.
Seems like we have more problems around here with what my grandma called them varmints. Varmints is eating up everything. But it actually ruined several cantaloupes. You in there? There he is.
I know that he spends just as much time in his garden probably than he does with his guitars. It's just as important to him to have a beautiful garden.
You know, he's into so many things. You know, he's a beekeeper and an expert at it. If he's going to mess with it, it's going to be done right. A lot of times I fuss at him for mowing the yard and working in that garden too much, because I'd rather have him up here working in the shop, you know, or either going to play music.
Herb always had a huge love for the land and watching things grow.
We've got more than we can use. Like I said, we've got okra pods and okra spears. We've got okra coming out of our ears.
Herb is a teacher in the best sort of way, and he teaches by sharing. Just like his garden, he has that humongous garden, and he'll just take you down there and try to get you to name off the plants and let you take home watermelons with you or whatever happens to be in season at the time.
He wants it to be homemade and just a little bit better than you can get anywhere else. And to be able to say that you grew these, and same way as making a guitar, you know, or anything like that. You know, you could go buy one and everything, but there's a little bit, at least a certain amount of pride in saying, you know, you made this instrument or something.
I just feel like that people ought to be producing more of what they eat rather than having it hauled in here from up north or down south and burning gas and running up and down the road and paying for all that transportation when you can grow it at home. Anybody can grow tomatoes, and all you got to do is set a plant out next to the doorstep and maintain it a little bit, and you'll have tomatoes.
That old Mountain Dew, Herb. Well, I guess I could, but I ain't got none with me.
Why don't you sing about it?
You want to do that too? Y'all want to hear that? Well, we're not promoting that stuff, but they still make a little of it down in Wilkes County. What was it you said the other day about the industry?
Oh yeah, that's one industry down there that they haven't figured out how to move to China yet.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a good thing, yeah.
You know, when I was in grammar school, there was a couple of boys, they would bring it to school. And then when we went out at break to play marbles or whatever we went out to do, they would get this moonshine out and we'd all sip on it. And then, in order that so the teacher wouldn't be able to smell it on our breath, we'd chew pine needles.
You want it pretty bad.
Well, you know, it's not so bad after you take a taste of that stuff and chew a few pine needles. It's got this.
If you are the sort that would relish a snort, here's some advice that is true. Head for them hills in Wells County Hills, where they still make that good old Mountain Dew. They call it that good old Mountain Dew, and they have that refute interview. I'll hush up my mug if you fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew. Now I'll play.
You know, when you get old and crotchety, you know, you think, you know, you get worse for that, but Herb's never been very bad for that. And and he's just always fun to be associated with and play with, and so I think that's probably one reason that he's one of my favorite musicians to play with.
Herb's contribution to the community as far as music goes has really been tremendous. He's played every venue I know of around here. He's out there. He's doing what he loves to do, and people love to see him doing what he loves to do.
I've known Herb Key a long time, and there are certain musicians that in any community are kind of the pillar of the community. They're the foundation of the thing, and I would say Herb is one of those guys. Always reliable, great player, good guy to get along with, and it's people like that that really just lay a foundation for the music and let other people build on top of it.
Every time Herb plays, if he picks up a bass, whatever he does, there's not ever a wasted note in his music. Because every note that he plays counts. See, it's not the next note that's going to be beautiful. No, it's the moment right now. He picks up that guitar, and there's a quietness, a stillness that happens, and he draws you in with this. He doesn't know about it, no, because for him, he doesn't do this to do anything with it. He does it because he needs to, because he is this.
That rural work ethic of getting up early and going to work and being honest and doing what to say is the kind of thing that sort of held on to a lot of the folks here in town, and folks like Herb who grew up out in the county, and through the years we've held on to that flavor, and it's the sort of thing that Herb appreciates, and I think one of the reasons he stays around here, because he could go anywhere he wanted to go, and but he chooses to stay here, and I consider that a compliment that people like Herb continue to make this their home and make it clear they're proud it's their home.
He finds the stories behind the music valuable. He's a storyteller as much as a musician, as much as a guitar player.
We've played some music together and swapped stories, and we've done manual labor together. You know, and Herb's a fine representative of our music and how you should do it. It comes from the heart. It's good playing, and a fine representative of how you should act. He's salt of the earth, I guess.
Herb, appreciate you fellas letting me pick with you.
My goodness, Wayne.
Getting to sit here.
Such a pleasure.
Jeff, one of the best musicians in the world, I've always thought.
He is. Yep, sure.
Getting to pick with two good buddies too, you know.
Well, it's been a pleasure playing for you, and I wish we could stay longer, but I'd like to close with an old song that, what was his name? Grandpa Jones wrote this song. Grandpa Jones wrote a lot of songs about hunting dogs and things, but he also wrote this. It's got a good message in it. It's called Falling Leaves.
Tells us we ought to help our brothers, and when it comes time to go, there's no use taking any gold because you can't take it when you go. That's part of the song. And it's just a nice song, and everybody seems to relate to it, so we do it a lot.
There's no use taking any gold. You cannot use it when it's time for hands to fold. And when you leave this earth for a better home someday, the only thing you'll take is what you gave away. Falling leaves that lie scattered on the ground.
I envied Drake got to play his whole life, Drake Walsh, and I want to keep playing as long as I can. And the present configuration that I'm involved with is with the Elkville String Band and with Wayne Henderson. I love playing with Wayne. I play bass with Wayne because Wayne don't need a whole lot of help on the guitar. And I play guitar with the Elkville String Band. And I enjoy the company and the knowledge that we share about the old events and old songs, and I just want to keep doing that.
Lord, let my eyes.
That last verse says, Lord, let my eyes see every need for every man. May I always stop and lend a helping hand. That ain't bad advice.
That little grassy mound, there'll be more friends around than leaves upon the ground. Falling leaves like the leaves upon the ground. Yes, they are scattered like the leaves upon the ground. Thank you so much, folks. Thank you. We appreciate it a whole lot.